Hello, this is Ian, and this is my POV. Okay, we have a number of characters in the Mandelson affair we have to recognise. Now, you have Starmer himself, who's the Prime Minister. You have David Lammy, who's now the Deputy Prime Minister, but was the Foreign Minister at the time of Mandelson's appointment. You've got Olly Robinson, who was the civil servant in the Foreign Office. He was appointed after Mandelson had already been appointed to the post. Yet Starmer still threw him under the bus. Olly Robinson said that Mandelson had already been appointed to the post, and they were still doing through due process. So how can due process be followed if it wasn't finished and the Prime Minister's already appointed him? I think the appointment goes to the King, and the King appoints him, the technical terms. But what did David Lammy know? Starmer said on yesterday, that he wasn't told, and the Foreign Secretary wasn't told. That would have been David Lammy. How does he know what he was told or wasn't told? Nobody's asked him yet. He hasn't said a word. He's keeping stum. Now, this morning, a lady called Cat Little, who's the permanent private secretary for the cabinet, gave evidence. No big revelations, just she's a civil servant, and it was civil service speak. Now, to understand what was going on, I suggest you watch a couple of episodes of Yes Minister before you watch Olly Robinson and Cat Little. That will explain how they explain things and what they're not saying, and what you can read into what they are saying. Because civil servants don't call a spade a spade. Something I learned in 6 years. A spade is a soil turning manual instrument. Now that would be a civil service term. And Cat Little is the Sir Humphrey in Yes Minister. That's her role. Now, Sweeney is the political advisor, and that's the guy who advises the minister of what he can do politically. And there was another guy, the communications guy, I can't remember his name. Hodge, was it? Forgive me if I'm wrong. But he was involved as well. Cat Little's name never came up anywhere in the last 2 months. All of a sudden, she's there giving evidence. And she was good. She was honest. And she said she could say what she couldn't say. Oh, that's not my responsibility. She might have known, but she wouldn't say it. You've got to read between the lines when these people speak. One, they're covering their own back, and they're hiding up for other people. Olly's already been sacked, so he was telling it as it is, explaining what happened. How can you, if Mandelson was already in post and he was in the Foreign Office and they were doing the vetting, he said he gave number 10, I would call it the risk assessment, the risks of appointing Mandelson to the American post. That's what he said, which is basically a risk assessment. That's the vetting process. He also said that the vetting process was not a pass or fail. So what's everybody doing this morning? Saying that Mandelson failed the vetting process, because that's what was in the paper. That is what number 10 must have put out through a press release. They've tried to put Olly Robinson under the bus to save the Prime Minister. And it all goes back to the Prime Minister. You've got to watch Yes Minister. Just watch a couple of episodes and get the gist of how they talk. And what they said was, the guy that wrote Yes Minister was being interviewed. And it was either on Radio 4 and it was in the car when I was driving home, or he was talking to Parky, one of them, a good interviewer. And he was talking about a storyline that there was a hospital with 500 beds and no patients. And of course, he said, we thought it would never happen. We thought it wasn't true. So that's why we did it. Turns out there is a hospital with 500 beds and no patients. Okay. So now, watch Yes Minister. Get the idea of the language. Because civil servants talk a different language than us. I'm a spades man. I say things outright. I'm a countryman. That's what I do. The Americans would call me a redneck. But I work on logic and my understanding of things. Civil servants, they have a way of speaking that sounds wonderful. They can say 1,000 words and not say anything. You know, politicians lie. We know that. That's part of their profession. We know Starmer lied. He said he hadn't been told. Well, he has been told, but he's not going to admit it. But then he might not have been given the vetting report. But there's nothing saying he wasn't told verbally. But like the MP said, did he ask the questions? Well, if it was a verbal question and it wasn't written down, we would never know. Cat Little said that she did not record verbal conversations. And that was it. So this is still all up in the air. We do not know what the truth is. My interpretation of what I've heard so far is that Sweeney and Lammy and Starmer wanted to appoint Mandelson as the American ambassador. Mandelson might have even volunteered himself for that position. They wanted to have a go at Trump. And they wanted a political figure in the embassy, and this was to then have a go at Trump. Because they don't like Trump. Remember, the Labour Party sent 200 staffers to help Kamala Harris. And I think this, remember when we had the deal, the trade deal with the United States? I think that Starmer and Lammy and Mandelson were trying to stitch up Trump. I don't know how, I don't know why. Well, we do know why, because they don't like him, but Exactly what was going to happen, we have never been told. And I think they thought they were going to do it. But like I've always said, Donald Trump wrote The Art of the Deal. He wasn't born yesterday. You're not going to teach him to suck eggs. There are loads of sayings I could use now. But they released the Epstein files. And the pieces they put out to the press that were highlighted within those files was about Mandelson. Mandelson's emails to Epstein about the government information that he gave him and the information of the photographs. There was a photograph of Mandelson in Epstein's Paris flat in his Y-fronts with a young lady in a bathrobe. Question is, who is that young lady? And I thought he was a guy bound for the other side. I expect it was only the maid. Yeah, that's it. It was the maid. Oh, we've all got it wrong, haven't we? Anyway, I think questions have got to be asked about that. But there's a big cover-up going on. And the problem is, we don't know what the cover-up is about. We know it's about Mandelson. And we know he can't be trusted. Now, if he was giving government information to Epstein, and he was given the government information when he was appointed as the ambassador to America before the vetting process, how much of that information was handed to the Russians or to the Chinese? Do you see what I'm saying? My allegation is that Miliband, maybe Starmer, and Mandelson are Chinese or Russian assets. Think about it. What does Miliband want? Oh, Miliband wants all these wind turbines and solar panels. Where are they all coming from? Coming from China. Who's got business dealings in China? Oh, that would be Mandelson. He's got business dealings in Crimea with the Russians. He's got business dealings in China. You know, there's some murky stuff going on here. And somebody's got to look into this and let us know what's going on. And I think Starmer's up to his eyeballs in it. We've got the trial started of the Rent Boys. One of my viral videos, I would call it. 40,000 views I had on my video on the Rent Boys. But they say they're going to plead guilty and get off with a lighter sentence and not explain how they knew that it was Starmer's house and car. They were working through the Ukrainian embassy. Now, was it Ukrainian opposition or the Ukrainian government? I don't know. But it's all very murky. And how does Starmer know the Rent Boys? I've posed a question. I don't know the answer. I know that's one of my stock phrases, but I've posed questions. I don't know the answer, and I'll tell you I don't know the answer. Just trying to make you think. So, when you got time tonight, when you're going through YouTube, watch a couple of Yes Minister episodes. Watch Sir Humphrey. Sir Humphrey is Cat Little. And the political advisor in Yes Minister is Sweeney. And you will understand what is going on. And we are not being told what the real truth is. And I think it's cover up on cover up on cover up. Anyway, that's my thoughts for today. We're not getting on very far, and I haven't really got any new information. All I'm trying to do is get you to think. Get you to try and understand what's going on. As soon as I know, I'll tell you. I don't know what's going on. Any other Prime Minister in the past had been up to this shenanigans, they would have gone months ago. They would have been straight out the door. Starmer is digging his heels in, staying there. The only people that can get rid of him is the Labour Party itself. And with the looming elections in May, Starmer will say, oh, you can't get rid of me, it'll upset the elections. Or if he does go, he'll wait until after that and say, see what happens when you get rid of me? You know, this is what he'll say. If he stays in place and it's a really bad election, on the predictions that they're going to lose 110, 120 council seats, then Starmer will resign afterwards. And then the Labour Party will then have the summer to sort out who's the new leader's going to be. Problem is it going to be David Lammy as Deputy Prime Minister, or is it going to be Angela Rayner, who's the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, who's going to be in charge? And then we got the elections. We've got a number of candidates. My next video, I'm going to do the odds. What the odds are on the different candidates. And sometimes it's quite revealing. Anyway, this is Ian. Bye-bye for now.